What's going on, everybody? Scott Oden coming at you. We are going to talk about how you can get better in the off season. What are things that you should actually work on, and what are things you should focus on, because you can actually make those changes in the off season. And what are some of the things that maybe you want to work on when you get to the season next year and you're being able to get back outside and you're kind of gearing up to play better on the golf course. So that's what this series will be all about. Today's going to be the first one. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Scott Oden coming at you. We're going to talk a little bit about getting better in the off season. So, I get a ton of questions about this. It's an important time of the year. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I am excited for this time of year because you do get to work on things and you don't necessarily have that pressure to have it perform right away, which means we can actually take some time and get better at things. Now, with that said, there are certain things that you can improve upon. And I think there are certain things that are better left for when you are outside and able to practice there that you can do. So we're going to go through those in this series, and we'll give you some low budget options. We are going to give you some high budget options, and go through that side of it as well. But this series, hopefully for everybody that is looking to get better as we go, but we're going to get into it. So when we start getting better, I would be remiss if I didn't start talking about putting. My goal when I work with people is, hey, I want you to get better and shoot lower scores. It's as simple as that. Obviously, I would like for people to have a pretty swing, all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, if you can score the golf ball better, to me, that's what matters. That's what I'm going for with students. So that means we have to work on our putting. And the off season is, honestly, this is one of the best things that you can do, and it's something that we were able to do for a long time. It was nice because, 20 years ago, this was actually like the only option you had. It wasn't as easy to get setups to hit with, and you just didn't think about it as much as we do nowadays. But it was nice because you worked on this, and then you came out and you were a pretty good putter. I was definitely, one of the strengths that I had was my ability to putt, and so that's where we can start saying, all right, what can we do inside? Well, working on this part of our game is going to be huge. Now, with putting, we got to think about, all right, what are the key areas that we can get better at? Well, to me, there are 4 areas of putting. So we have the ability to start the ball on line, the ability to aim the putter, okay? We have the ability to control our speed, and our ability to read a green. Okay, those to me are the 4 areas that I would look at when we are putting. So, are we going to be able to work on green reading inside? Not really. You could say, hey, there are certain devices and things like that, but to me, to be honest, green reading is about being out there and taking in all the information that you can. When you're standing on a green, you feel how fast they are. There's just times where you're like, man, I just know this putt's a lot faster, because you can feel it, because you've experienced that situation before. So not really going to get that inside. The ability to control speed. This has actually gotten better with something like XPutt, but you're not really going to be working on different speeds. There are devices such as Blast Motion, which we will be going over that device in detail because they have a new one out. But those devices can a little bit, but unless you have, the actual distance to hit the putt, again, I just don't think it's that helpful to work on your speed control. You can get a little idea, but I think you're going to do better when you just get outside. So that leaves our other 2 areas. Can we work on aim, and can we work on starting the ball on line? That 100% you can do, okay? So let's start with how I like to work on those things, and I will be working on them all winter, and I work on them all the time anyway, okay? So first things first, we need a putting setup. Now, I love my Perfect practice mat. I was excited to get this just from when I saw it, because I like things that have lines on them that are set up, and I know that, because they machine them, I know that they're going to be straight. So why that is important is, at least if I can get my line on my putter lined up with the line on the mat, all right, I know I'm getting aimed, and I can start calibrating myself to do that. So that is something that's really important. Now, this is pretty low budget, Okay, now what I mean by low budget is this is about, now it's getting to like a quarter of the cost of a new driver, where people will go buy that. They won't blink to buy a new driver, but they still don't know how to hit it, and it's still gonna not give them any better results, where you can get something that's actually going to help you and help you learn some skills. That's what I think of as low budget, okay? In fact, you can get this entire setup along with a kit, which I'm gonna talk a little bit more about, for half the price of a driver. So I think it's really, really cool that these types of things are out there, and they really, really do work. Now, if you wanna go even more low budget, if you're working on aim, what I used to do when I was in college, in my dorm room, I took a piece of duct tape and I just laid it out on the ground, aimed it at my bedpost. This would have been about a 2-foot long piece of tape. I put a ball on there, I worked on getting the putter lined up with that piece of tape, and I tried to roll the ball down the tape. That is with a college student budget where you have no idea how to handle money and all of that stuff, so that's what I did then. But I was a pretty good putter back then. Now I like to use my mat, and I also like to use a couple of different devices. I like all of these devices here are part of the Short Game Gains kit. These are a putting mirror, okay? Putting mirror, which you see pretty much at every tour event by a ton of players, okay? You get that where you are working on, you got lines to set your putter up on. You also have the ability to see, hey, there are my eyes set up to the ball. So I can work on getting my eyes into the same location every single time I go up to putt. So my setup is gonna be much better. I'm gonna get more consistent at that. The other thing that we have here, we have a little bit of a rail. This is why I like this particular mirror. They have a little bit of an attachment that says, hey, start the ball down this little rail. It just attaches by a magnet to the bottom. You get to roll it down that. Again, I get to kind of get calibrated to, hey, this is where I'm trying to roll it for the first 12 inches or so of the putt. The other thing I like then is, I like to have a start line gate, okay? This is a gate that you can use outside. They also, the reason I was so excited about this one is, it comes with the little feet, so you can use it inside as well. So we are set up to really work on getting myself calibrated. Hey, this is where I'm gonna roll the ball. And then obviously the last part is, we gotta see if we can do it. So if I step up, roll one, you can see we got a little issue there, right? I get my feedback of how I rolled that ball, okay? So obviously hit the left side of the gate. That means my putter face was closed. So my aim has to be pretty good. So what it's telling me is, because I feel like I got everything set up, that tells me during my stroke, I've got an issue with starting the ball on line. So I can make some adjustments. I can try to go to the right. I like to try a little drill here where I actually go right hand only, because I tend to get a little left hand dominant pulling and closing. So we'll try it. Let's see if we can keep it a little more to the right. There we go. Oh, lipped it out, but that was good. Okay. And so I work on that drill and do it a lot. Okay. Building up my confidence of trying to get that thing started. And so what's nice is I'm going to have feedback all winter about, hey, this is what's going on in my putting stroke, and I can work on it and get better. You will see this set up pretty much in every video, so keep your eye for it, but I will be working on it. Now, another thing that I like to do is I like to work on getting the lines and everything on my golf ball set up. So one of the things I also like, and I've used this, it comes in the kit, and obviously there's a bunch of other versions of it too, but I get lines on my golf ball, and then I use this marker to make sure I'm lining up the lines correct. Now again, with the perfect practice mat, I can just line up the lines to the line on the mat. Okay, so we get those set up. And the same thing here. I'm gonna get myself set. If I move over to this hole, the bigger one, everything's set. Now I can work on it without the drill as well. So I kind of have the option. That's why I like the mat. I can have my setup for the smaller hole. Then I can move over. Hey, I want to try it without it. I can bounce back and forth. So it works out really nice. Let's see if we can roll this pretty straight. Not bad, though, wobbling a little bit, but I can keep working on that. And you can see I didn't miss it to the left there. I actually got the face a little too open. So it's a never-ending process of calibration, getting things working. But if I do this every day, man, I'm gonna get really good. Or if I do it 3-4 times a week, you can get really good. 5-10 minutes, get it set up, you are ready to go. So having some feedback, you're gonna hear me talk about this, is we have to think about ways to have feedback on different parts of our game. Obviously, when we're talking with full swing, stuff like that, the launch monitor, stuff like that's gonna come in play. But don't forget about your putting this off season, because this is the part that's gonna make the big difference. So this is how my setup will look. Again, I highly recommend everything that you see here. I love the kit. This is actually a kit. We have a couple left. These came out with all of our short game clinics, and all of my high school players have to have some sort of putting setup with this. So you get all those. I'll link all that stuff in the description below so you can check it out. But make sure as you're working on your game this off season, you're thinking, all right, how am I gonna get better? And make sure you're tackling all the parts of your game, because you can do that. So putting's one of them. Putting is arguably the most important, so don't forget about it. All right, so that's how I would start by working on my game. If you need something to work on, hey, I'm not ready to make the investment in some of the full swing stuff, doesn't mean you can't get better. And in fact, you're probably gonna get better at the most important part anyway. So get yourself some sort of putting setup. Get yourself working on that critical part of your game. And again, don't worry about trying to work on everything at once. Oh, I'm not putting, I'm working on, it's so different when I go outside. You can work on critical areas, and actually it's probably a good thing that you get to break it down and only work on a couple areas, because you can really learn to master those. So that's what I would do to get started, making sure I'm gonna get better for the next season. Now again, we're gonna have more videos coming up in this series showing you what you can get better at in the off season, so don't miss out on those videos. Click that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already, and we'll see you in the next one.